Sharath here back again. So this week we'll continue the Q&A with ChatGPT about the most pressing issues of the last week. So let's dive right in. Is today's monetary policy a prudent guard against inflation or an overcorrection that risks economic stagnation? Or the markets like to call is the ghost of Paul Walker back again? Yeah, it's pretty much the same economic conditions that we are facing today. The political mechanism is creating an inflationary pressure, and the Fed cannot dictate politics, so they have certain levers that they can control to stabilize prices, and I think they will continue to use them. The problem with stagflation is it's political, and the Fed has pretty much nothing to do with it, and all they have is technical tools. So they will wait for the political establishment to kind of figure their way out, and they will stick to their technical tools until then, I guess. So that's it. When public figures accept luxury gifts from foreign entities, does it compromise trust or simply reflect global diplomacy? Accepting gifts from foreign entities as a token of goodwill is not new. The Statue of Liberty is pretty much like that. The difference between the Statue of Liberty and Qatari jet is basically one is open for public consumption, the other is not. It's only limited to the presidential consumption. So that makes it a kind of a sketchy issue, and I think the U.S. Congress will decide on if they should accept it or not. I think making a comment on it, anyone other than the Congress would be improper, I guess. So yeah, that's my opinion. Does lifting sanctions on controversial regimes enable peace and reform or risk legitimizing authoritarian power? The Syria sanctions. So I think in a recent interview, Jordan Peterson kind of mentioned that the situation about Israel and the Middle East is kind of like a microcosm of the real world. So yeah, I think pretty much I agree with those things. Most of the countries in the Middle East has sanctions, and they have limiting trading opportunities, and that is causing some kind of troublesome behavior, I guess. As the saying goes, trade precedes peace. So I guess this is a right step after the Abrahamic Accords. But the leader of free world kind of aligning with authoritarian regimes is kind of an alarming signal for most of the other democratic countries, I guess. So yeah, that's my opinion. Do protectionist trade measures defend domestic interest or inflate costs and limit consumer? Of course, it's inflates cost and limits consumer freedom. The dynamic is kind of a different right now because these tariffs and things will cause inflationary pressure in the biggest buyer US, because the goods are less and there will be a lot of money chasing the smaller amount of goods. In the other emerging markets, basically, who are the sellers, the supply is high, and if the buyer decided not to buy, it will cause a deflationary pressure, because since the supply is high, if the future price of the products and service goes down, you won't buy certain things right now. So that will cause a deflationary spiral. So to counter it, the other central banks of the emerging markets are reducing interest rates, and the dynamic will play like they will kind of uh, increase the money supply, and it will kind of like proportionally equal to the already increased money supply of the US dollar, I guess. So it kind of balances it out. So that's how the dynamics plays out. Since there is a trade war right now, there is a shift in dynamics, and people are uncertain about how things will play out. Yeah, of course, the protectionist policies are increasing the inflationary pressure and limiting the choice for the consumer, I guess. Are new regulations on AI generated content protecting public discourse or curbing free expression through overreach? I think even with the social media, when it came first, there was a lot of misuse like misrepresentation of identity and this thing. So they kind of course corrected it with other options. So that's how it happens. The most the governments can do is kind of like ground the regulations in a way that the people who generate content are accountable, meaning increase the transparency about who is creating this content and how it's consumed. If anything beyond that will kind of limit the usage of the technology and will kind of stagnate everyone further. So that's my opinion. Does forcing corporate divestitures in the name of digital security protect autonomy or threaten market freedoms? It's about the TikTok ban legislation. It's an interesting place we are in, right? Because Trump has already agreed that TikTok is useful for several small businesses in US, and it's helping them. He's also said the a signature of him would make the value of the company zero. So that would make hard for anyone to buy that or invest in that. So unless the legislature is scrapped, it would be hard for anyone to buy TikTok, and we have to see how this plays out. So our recent policy shifts away from renewable energy, correcting past excess, jeopardizing long-term sustainability. So the renewables are a kind of a tricky problem because what it has done is basically shifted the focus from the fossil fuels to other kind of materials, like from the batteries, the windmill turbines, and the solar panel material. So it just shifted its focus from one material to other. It doesn't have solved the problem, and it won't run on its own. It has to have another grid, which makes it expensive. I think anyone who is serious about clean energies or interested into the nuclear programs, even the tech companies who are building data centers and the AI infrastructure are looking into nuclear program for their energy needs. So if they can do it, I don't see why the government shouldn't do it. In emerging countries, the private bodies cannot invest in this nuclear facilities. Only in US this is happening. And yeah, if this continues, I guess there will be private grids and people will be subscribing to these private power grids instead of government power grids. So that is a good step if this happens. I think if people are serious about clean energy, they should be focusing on nuclear. Yeah, so let's see what happens. So yeah, that's my opinion, guys. So that's it for now. If you have any more questions, you can comment. I'll try to answer them in the next week. I'll connect with you guys with more questions next week, I guess. So that's it for now. Bye.